What you think today, how you see your life right now, was influenced by the things that happened to you. Something happened, and that changed everything.
Hey friends, and welcome to the Unpack Show podcast with myself, Johannes Baloyi. And thank you for joining me, because this is a place where we unpack the question we have in mind on the challenges we come across as we go about building and improving our lives. Friends, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you can be notified when we release a new episode. You know, one thing that I love about the Unpack Show podcast, it's how dedicated we are to coming into your space every single week to engage you on some of the thought-provoking conversations, thought-provoking thoughts that you may be having in your mind. And speaking about thought-provoking conversations, this week I want us to talk about what happened to you. This is a question: what happened to you? This question comes after I realized how so many of us leave behind the things we used to do because we have grown and we can now see life from what it really is. There are things we used to believe in, things we used to be passionate about, the things we used to do. But today, we no longer do those things. We no longer believe in those things. We are no longer passionate like we used to. And so, I want you to ask yourself this question. That thing you used to believe in so much with all your heart, that thing you used to be passionate about, what is it that made you to stop believing in it? That made you to stop being passionate? And that's why I'm saying that this question comes after I realized how so many of us leave behind the things we used to believe in and the things we used to do, because now we have grown and we can now see life from what it really is. Because as kids, we just see life through the eyes of our parents, because it is their responsibility to guide us and to show us the way of life. That's why when you grow up seeing life differently, we slowly leave behind some of the things we used to believe in, some of the things that we used to do, because we can now see life from what it really is. And like we do on the Unpack Show podcast, by allowing you to be part of the conversation by sending through a voice note to share your opinion on the topics that we talk about. This week, we have a voice note of Peladi Lidwaba sharing her opinion about what she used to believe in. And let's hear what she has to say.
Well, for me, it would be going to church. And I've stopped going to church. And not because I don't believe in God. Of course I believe in God. But when we grew up, or when we grow up, we are being told, to show you're a good human being, then you love God, and you do good, you have to go to church, right? And as I matured, or as I've grown, I've realized that church has nothing to do with being good or being righteous or doing good or whatever. Your actions are what makes you who you are. I know a whole lot of people who go to church every Sunday, but their hearts are evil, or they are evil, or they do evil. So for me, it's like just knowing in my heart that my actions and my kindness towards people and my kindness towards who I am is all the church that I need, and it's all the God that I need. I don't need to go to church. I could go to church, but it should be for a different purpose. It shouldn't be because I want to be this good person, righteous person, or whatever person. It should just be because, it's a place where I feel a little lighter, a little happier when I am there. But it shouldn't be for any other reason. And for me, I've just found it better to connect with God in a different way. Church is just an institution to me. Most of the churches, are really built on the idea of capitalization or capitalizing, right? It's still a business at the end of the day with most churches. And so I've moved away from that. Doesn't mean that I'm not God fearing. It just means that I fear God in a different light or in a different way, and I love God in a different way, and I show it in a different way. And by showing it in a different way, it could mean a bunch of things. I think for me, it's just being kind to human beings, being compassionate, loving people, and yeah, that's just that. So if there's one belief that I grew up with, is definitely going to church, and as I have matured, I have stopped doing that. And it doesn't mean that people who go to church are like wrong or whatever. No. That's just a personal preference. Like for me, this is what works. Yeah. So yeah, I hope people don't catch feelings, because you know how people are. People like catching feelings.
So yeah, this is what Pilari had to say about her opinion on things that she used to believe in. That when she grew up, she used to believe that going to church was good, because being taught that, when you go to church, people who go to church are good people, but yet you still see some people who go to church, but yet they don't do good things. It's one of the beliefs that even for me personally, I grew up with. And so, like, I can share the same sentiment with Peladi, that when I used to go to church, my family used to tell me that, Johannes, when you are a believer in God, you are not supposed to do evil things. You are supposed to do decisions and things that are godly, to put it into inverted commas. But I used to ask myself a lot of time, because I used to see people who are not going to church, yet they do good things. And I used to see people who go to church, yet they do evil things, just to put it into inverted commas. So I kind of got confused. And as I grew up, as I matured with time, as it progressed, I started to realize that going to church or not going to church, it's not about people who are godly, in fact, going to church. So they can be people who go to church, but they can still do things that are evil. And yet they can be people who go to church who don't do things that are evil. They can be people who don't go to church, do good things, and they can be people who don't go to church, do evil things. So doing good things and evil things, it doesn't matter whether you go to church or not. It's just about what you tell yourself in your heart. So I share the same sentiment with Peladian. She says that she grew up with that belief that she has to go to church, and also that people who go to church are good people, are not evil people, but yet you see them that these people are not good people. And as many of us are getting lost in this reality of life as we grow, I find it so interesting to see that at least there are those who are waking up to see life from what it really is. There are those who are waking up to see the reality of life. Because we can sometimes get surprised when you go through certain change in our lives, because change is one of the things that is guaranteed. We will always go through change. And depending on our ability to deal with reality, we can either fall back or stand strong. And I'm not going to delve deep into change. If you want to hear more about change, go back. There's an episode there where I talk about change, where I delve deep into talking about change. And, speaking of change, I saw a TikTok video. It was a guy who posted a text video, and that text stood on my heart, because I could relate a lot with the text. And it says as follows: as I grew up, I now start to realize why my father used to sit alone at night outside. As I grew up, I now start to realize why my father used to sit outside alone at night. And I can relate a lot to this post, because many of us, as we grow up starting to see life from what it really is, we can reflect back to the moments where we saw our parents reacting or responding in a certain way to many situations. Because, being a teenager, the way in which we see life, it's not the same way an adult see life. As a teenager, you just live anyhow you want. You do whatever that you want. But when you grow up, you start to leave behind a lot of things that you used to do, a lot of things that you used to believe in, because now you can see life from what it really is. And that's why when you grow up, we realize that being an adult, it's about responsibility. Because being a kid, you don't have responsibility. You are being taken care of. Everything in your life is just being taken care of. You are being provided with shelter, provided with food, being taken to school, given money. And it doesn't even come across your mind to even ask yourself, how does your parents get those things? Because you are still a kid. It is not your responsibility, at least yet, for you to ask yourself those questions. That's why we don't even bother by asking ourselves those questions. As long as our parents are providing for us, we are happy. If we don't see them providing for us, then we begin to question, where is food? Where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to get money? Where am I going to school to? Because of it is their responsibility as adults. That's why being an adult, it's about responsibility. And even though we do grow, but a lot of us are still held back by this teenage mentality. You know, for myself, there are days when I feel like not waking up, feel like not doing anything. And in that moment, I quickly remind myself that, Johannes, no one is coming to wake you up, to tell you to get off and start doing something. Because this is somehow the teenage mentality in me, waiting for someone to come and wake me up because of, as a kid, that's how we live. You just wait for your parents to come and wake you up. You just wait for your parents to come and do things for you. Some of us, when you come back from school, you don't even bother to go to the kitchen. You just sit and ask your parents to make you food. It's just a lot of crazy things that we do as young people. But sometimes I look back and I'm like, now it's just the advantage of being a kid, just living life, exploring life, delving deep into being a teenager, delving deep into being a kid and enjoying life as a kid. But when you grow, life is completely different. Because a teenage mentality is that mentality where you just live anyhow, going anywhere with everyone at any time, talking about just anything. But when you grow older, you start to have a sense of purpose. That's what I'm saying, or being a teenager, you just sleep. They will come and wake you up. If they don't wake you up, then it's their problem. You don't imagine that is your problem. But when you wake up, you start to have a sense of purpose. A sense of purpose, it is like responsibility. It is like that thing, I am now responsible for my life. Because when you are having a sense of responsibility, when you do something that is not right, when you do something, say, you start to reflect on yourself very quickly and remind yourself, no. I'm not supposed to be doing this. I need to change my behavior. I need to change the way in which I think. And one of the things that breaks my heart is that looking at the lives of young people today, it looks like some of us, we are slowly drowning because somewhere along the journey of life, we start to see things differently. And many of us, we don't have the strength to deal with reality that is in front of us. Because this reality of life, it's not easy. It's not easy. Being an adult, it's not easy. That's why being an adult, it's about responsibility, having a sense of purpose, waking yourself up in the morning, telling yourself that you need to do something, telling yourself that you've grown up, telling yourself that no, you're not supposed to be doing this, telling yourself at night, or no, I'm not supposed to be working at night, telling yourself for at night, I'm supposed to be home sleeping, telling yourself that I have children that I need to work for, telling yourself that you've grown up, you need to start seeing how you can build your life. So that thing on its own, it's not really easy. Being an adult, hey, it's nip up and fleece. I remember, growing up, mama ko hai na fela re monna re Johannes hola ni di bone, because a lot of time we used to talk just anyhow. Talk anyhow. We just do whatever we want. But manja na fela ntsa bolela re Johannes hola ni tle di bone. And now as an adult, I start to reflect to a lot of moments. And now I can see life from what it really is. That's why even for myself, there's lots of things that I've left behind, lots of beliefs that I've left behind, that today I no longer believe in those, that today some of those things, I no longer participate in them, I no longer do them. And here's something very important that I've got to learn along this journey of life, is that as we grow older, we need to realize that we will start seeing life differently. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that is a sign to show that we are growing. And as we grow up seeing life differently, sometimes it's easier to get lost, not knowing how to deal with reality in front of us. Like I said, that we need to work on our ability to deal with change as we transition from one level of life to the next level of life. And we just should be comfortable with growth, because sometimes growth can make us feel guilty, and if not careful, that guilt can trap you from not growing. I've seen how I was so trapped by guilt and being afraid to do certain things in my life. One of the things that I can share with you is that the issue of having friends. There's a point in my life where I started to realize that, you know what, Jonas, you need to start leaving behind friends. This thing of doing friendships, hanging up, it needs to come to an end, because you spend most of your time with friends. When do you have time for yourself? When do you have time to work on yourself? When do you have time to cultivate the skills that you have in your life so that you can be able to build your life? The time you're spending with your friends is the time that you should be reinvesting in your life to shape your life and build your life, because you are growing. And as I had this mental conversation with myself, I was trapped by guilt of, these are the people I grew up with. These are the people I used to love. Now I'm going to leave them behind. Now I'm no longer going to be their friends. Now I'm no longer going to hang out with them. But guess what? Since I've left this thing of having friends, hanging out, I've grown so much. There's a lot of beautiful things that I've done in my life. There's a lot of beautiful things that happened in my life. Beautiful opportunities that I've had along this journey of life. And this is because I've started to make a decision that I'm not growing. There are certain things that I need to leave behind. And there are certain things that I need to start taking on. Because growth, it's something that is beautiful, like I said, and we need to be comfortable with it. And if not careful, you can get trapped. A lot of us are trapped in this life. That's why I want you to ask yourself this question. Take this moment. Go back into your mind. Ask yourself, what are the things that you are afraid of doing? The things that if you do them, you can see growth in your life, but you are afraid of doing because what will people say? Because you are used to doing these things. If you can let go of that thing and fly, you will see that you are going to accumulate certain things in your life. You will achieve certain positions. You will grow. You will attract opportunities in your life, because now you are free to can think on your own and think independently. Because the beauty of growth is that growth is about developing you to become a better person and a strong person. Because this life doesn't get easier, but we just have to get stronger. That's why I'm saying that as teenagers, we have that mentality of someone will come and do something for us. We just want life to be easy. That's why as teenagers, we are so trapped. And a lot of us, we've grown, but we are so trapped in this mentality of, I want to be happy. I want to do things that makes me happy. I want to tell you this for free. Till this moment, as I've grown, I've realized that it's not about doing what you love. Yes, you can do the things that you love for passion, but it's about doing what is necessary, things that are important. Sometimes you have to do something that you don't love because that thing, it's important. It will take you from one level to the next level. So we need to leave behind this teenage mentality. I remember when I dropped out of school after losing hope, and I believed that school can help me to, because as you grow up, you are taught that you need to go to school. School is a beautiful thing. School will help you. So I went to school with that mentality in me. But when I dropped out because of the mentality I have, or the reality I was faced with in that moment, that school can help me. And now I realize that school is not helping me. I need to drop out. But because of the vision I had, my belief and hope was restored with growth as time progressed. Because I needed to realize that there are some things that I need to fix in my life. There are some things that I need to let go of. Some beliefs that I need to let go of. To adopt into new beliefs, to find new beliefs, adopt into them and grow with them. Because sometimes when you are young, like I said, having the teenage mentality, and I'm talking a lot about the teenage mentality because sometimes we are unable to grow because of that teenage mentality. You think someone is going to come and do something for you. But as I grow up, I start to realize that no one is coming to do anything for you. Everyone is busy with their lives. You just need to be at a point in life, grow up and realize that you need to start doing something about your life. You see, because if you don't do something, you're going to be left behind. You're going to see a lot of people acquiring a lot of things, people growing, and when you look at yourself, you're still left behind because you are not doing anything, because you are still having that mentality of maybe someone will come and lift you up. No one is coming. You are on your own, but yet you don't have to be alone. You have to find a group of people who are passionate, group of people who have certain beliefs that are about shaping a beautiful future for yourself. And that's why I think it is critically important to realize that as kids, the way in which we used to see life was because of the things we were taught by our parents, the people who groomed us. And now we have grown. We have to look at life through the lens and the experience of our reality. And what we need to do, or we need to understand, is that as an adult, it is your responsibility to find your truth and shape your life around the truth. Your truth, it's exactly what you think it's real according to your own experience. And you see, growing up, we were taught to never question certain things and to accept things as they are. But as we grow up, we start to want to question certain realities because some things don't make sense, and you want to question them and this is because we have now grown and we can now see life through the lens of our eyes. That's why I loved the opinion of Peladi when she said that she used to believe that going to church, it's about being godly and having that golden heart. But as she grew up, she starts to realize that going to church, it has nothing to do with the golden heart. You can go to church and not have it. You can go to church, have it. You cannot go to church, have it. You cannot go to church and not have it, you see. So it's about what you tell yourself. And I share the same sentiment with her to say that church has nothing to do with your heart. Yet, it can teach you some of the important things about life. And in closure, I would like to say the following. As you leave old beliefs behind you, find new beliefs, because the importance of belief is to guide our decisions. I remember when I was young going to church, like I said, I was taught that when you're a believer in God, you should not do evil things, to put it into inverted commas. And so that belief guided me into making decisions that were godly, to put it into inverted commas. And irrespective of whether or not they were right, I love how beliefs can guide us into the right path. That's why I want to encourage you to say that you don't need to get lost. You don't have to get lost because you've lost all beliefs or you've left all beliefs behind you. Go out there, adopt new beliefs, and let them guide your decisions and shaping you into becoming a better person. Friends, this is what we had for you this week on the Unpacked Show podcast. Till we meet again next week, be blessed, be healthy, and as my role model Vusi Tembekwayo once said, have the spirit of the underdog.